Alright, so the rear door is very similar to the front door in that we got to take this off, we got to take that off. There's some 7mm on the bottom here. There's also a notch right here in the front, just like the other one. Exact same screws. Now for this, obviously there's no cool pillar here to get this off, so what we want to do is take one of our panel tools and kind of just work it. There you go. You reach up from behind and unplug this. It's got two clips on it that you can push up. And then grab that bottom clip, hold down, this will come right off. And there's our factory speaker. Use the Neo magnet for the rear. Let's take it over to the bench and I'll show you what we're going to replace it with. So for the rear speakers, we're going to use these, the Metra 825605. These are the Ford F150 rear spacers. You also get a bag of screws with them along with the two of these. So when you compare them to the speaker, this one is a little bit shorter. The hole patterns on the front are identical. And it does have these little guys here. So if you're using a smaller 6-inch speaker instead of a 6.5, you can screw it in. Now this speaker has some foam on the front. We're doing FastRings as well, along with some RoadKill. Let's take a look at the speakers we're putting in the rear. For that, we're going to be going with some X-type 6.5-inch coaxials. This is the guy here. So the coaxials have the identical tweeter that comes in the component set. They're the same. Uses the Neo magnet. It uses the aluminum basket. Has the same style surround and cone. Very nice speaker. You also get in the box the cool little Alpine logos, along with a bag of screws and two grills. Now let's go get started doing some RoadKill. Alright, so just like the front, we want to go ahead and get the acoustic plug in there. So we want to test it. Now, just by looking at what we got going on here, we're going to need to cut this down by at least a ½ inch. So we're going to go ahead and do that first. Alright, center it up and stick it down. There we go. So these have this cool little X mounted here, this little logo here, which is telling you that's the top of the speaker. All right, so let's test fit these into here, and they are big enough to where we are going to have to break off these little tabs. So you just simply all right, so now they fit perfect. We'll put foam on these just like the fronts. Now this plug is identical to the plug that went into the front speaker. Most of the time this is how manufacturers do it. So knowing that, and knowing that this white here was the positive for the front, we can go ahead and look at these two plugs and see on the rear how the white green is going to be positive for the rear. So for the rear, we don't have to do the battery test if we've already done it on the front, because it'll be the same. If you want to do it, go right ahead, but now we want to go ahead and screw in our speaker spacer. And now we'll start putting on our outside RoadKill. Let's go get this in the door. Alright, so now we just want to go ahead and add our front ring onto it. And yeah, that's going to fit. Now all we have to do is get the door panel back on, and we're all set. So as far as the factory tweeter goes, we've already taken this off, as you can see. It's just two 10mm bolts to hold it in, and then the whole thing just pops right off. There's one clip at the top. But to get the tweeter off, the tweeter is just two screws, and then it just, you know, mounts just like this, and it's flat. It's just a tweeter mount. Once you've twisted the back off of the Alpine, you have a pretty streamlined tweeter that will fit right in that location. The problem is how do you fix it to it? I mean, this won't come off of here. So that's where 16th inch ABS comes in handy. So what you want to do is just 16th inch ABS, a little piece of plastic here, and we're going to just heat it up and we're going to mold it into place. Now you probably are going to burn your fingers because this is really hot. Just kind of hold the tweeter where it needs to go. There we go. Now we have the Alpine tweeter mounted in the factory location. Just a really simple novice mistake that gets made is when you're hooking one of these style crossovers up, it says input tweeter, and it's this tiny print. Of course, you know, like we like to solder it, so if you're not paying attention, sometimes what'll happen is you'll get these backwards. So always check to make sure that you have these the right direction. So this is all set. We're gonna go get this into the car because next we have to do some tuning. So we're at that magic moment. We just finished putting in all the speakers. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some polarity checking. Tick, 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 tick. And then we're gonna do the cool Pioneer Auto EQ. Isn't that exciting? That's exciting. All right, first things first, ticking. Cool. So now that the polarity testing is done, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the auto EQ. This is a 4200, so all we have to do is hit eject, make sure that the power is off, the door will fold down, and it plugs in behind the screen. If you have a non-fold down radio, you have to have access to the aux jack on the back. Now, we've gone ahead and closed our back door. We're gonna go ahead and lock our front door because you need to be quiet for this portion, and for some reason it's hard for people just keep their mouth shut. Paul wants to come over and talk. It's like, eh. We're gonna come here, we're gonna select gears, audio, scroll down, plug our microphone in, tell it where we sit, select start. It's gonna give us 10 seconds to get out. All right, now everyone be quiet. Shh. And just like that, it's done. Now what we have to do is actually use our ears and see how it sounds. Now the first thing I like to do anytime we do one of these is go ahead and see what it did. It'll give us a good idea of what we need to fix. Now the one thing you'll also notice is that immediately your subwoofer volume is always turned down. For some reason they always turn down the subwoofer volume. The other thing too that we've noticed is that we didn't have any clipping issues. If there was a clipping issue, there'd be a negative all the way around, but since we have 0, we know that the amplifier's gains are set right where they need to be. Now we're gonna go ahead and turn our subwoofer back up to a normal listening level, and then we're gonna come in here and actually turn our subwoofer off because we don't wanna actually listen to it until the very end. I need your loving when you're away. All right, so for any of you that are interested in this new X-type speaker, get it, okay? There's nothing to worry about on this speaker. The mid-bass that comes off this 6x9 is insane. I would strongly recommend doing what we did, put some RoadKill in the doors, do a little bit of FastRing action. It will only increase the mid-bass tenfold, and I kid you not. The amount of mid-bass that comes out of these is insane. I'm happy that these manufacturers have decided to finally put real-size speakers other than just 6.5s, and I know a lot of you guys out there are like, oh no, 6.5's the best. Okay, cool, good for you. You run with that. For the rest of us, let's go with these 6x9s in the front door because the amount of mid-bass, the front image that we can get out of these is just crazy. I'm a mid-bass guy. I love mid-bass. In previous systems that I've owned, I've always run 2 6.5-inch mid-bass because that's just what would fit. These things have awesome mid-bass. Now, the high-res portion of it, I mean, I understand you need to have high-res amp, high-res radio, high-res rah. Okay, cool. Really, at the end of the day, what it means is this tweeter is performing exceptional. It is capable of playing really high frequencies that a normal tweeter just wouldn't do. It would die out. These tweeters coming even off the glass are very crisp, very defined, really nice sounding tweeters. It gives us a really nice center image because they can play a wide range of frequencies that a normal tweeter just wouldn't do. Not to say that we haven't done some really impressive tweeters in the front of these F150s. We have. As you guys know, this is one of our most popular cars, but what we can get out of these now twice, this is the second set we've put in an F150, it just keeps getting better and better. One of the tests I like to do when I'm done is you see me singing to the music. What I'm actually doing is yelling. And I'm yelling because what I'm trying to do is, can I hear me over the music? And I know what I sound like when I'm yelling. I sound terrible. I sing in the shower. It sucks. But as long as these speakers are still doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's not affecting, like me yelling isn't affecting them, and it's like I don't know if any of you have ever sat in a car and it's like sounds great at low volumes, but as soon as you turn it up, it starts to break apart and it's like, eh. But when you sit in a car that is so clear and sounds so good that as the volume is just maxed out and you can't tell how loud it is until you actually start talking and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's wow, you know? Like my ears are severely ringing right now. I mean, they ring all the time anyways, but right now they're really ringing, so I'm not helping myself on that. I just wanted to give you guys this review of these speakers because I know you guys are gonna ask. They are really nice speakers. Alpine has definitely done a really good job with these. I would not hesitate to recommend them to anybody. With that being said, this guy is done. We're gonna call it a night on this. This is the end. You guys have a great day as always. Have a great night. We'll see you when we see you. Probably tomorrow. All right, you guys have a good night. We'll see you later next time. Bye. And sorry, Fernando had to go help Paul put boxes away or something because he'd be here otherwise.